We're going to go into our KUM News Zoom room where this next segment is brought to you by our friends at the Thrive Coalition. The Thrive Coalition, where we remind you it takes a whole village, you and even you, to raise healthy and drug-free youth. Come on, thrive with us. And so we have in our KUM News Zoom room from the United States District Court, Chief Judge Francis Tydenko Gatewood. Good morning, Your Honor.
Morning and half a day.
We have Magistrate Judge Michael Berdalio. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning and half a day.
We have from the Guam Department of Education, she's the district psychologist, Nadine Cepeda. Good morning.
Good morning and half a day.
And then he was on here just a couple weeks ago. He actually got, did you get the whole day off for this, Jess, or you just signed the half day?
I actually got the whole day off. I wanted to focus on this today.
Nice. So let's stretch it out then. He's a model recovery citizen for the United States District Court, Jesse Mendiola. So thanks, everyone, for joining us. And Chief, we'll just go ahead and start with you. Red Ribbon Week. I know it's the same time every year, so I'm pretty sure there were discussions about how we were going to handle this week this year during this pandemic. So if you could just take us back to those discussions and tell us how did we get to where we're at now.
Well, let me just say thank you for inviting us again, Chris Malfunction and Sabrina. And Judge Berdalio is going to talk about what's going to happen. And if you don't mind, I'll just we kind of had our own preparation yesterday, me, Judge Berdalio, and Jesse Mendiola. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to talk real briefly about the fact that this is Drug Court Month. And Red Ribbon Week, and just how it started was essentially there was a DEA agent, and his name was Enrique Kiki Camarena, and born in 1948, grew up in Mexico, and then he moved to the United States with his family to pick fruit. Long story short, he became a United States Marine officer and not officer, U.S. Marine enlistee, and then he joined the police force and decided he wanted to make a difference, so he joined the Drug Enforcement Agency. And during his period of time of being a drug enforcement agent, he was involved in many drug trafficking cases, and in Mexico, on the trail of Mexico's marijuana and cocaine barons. He had been working on those cases. And he specifically asked to be transferred to Guadalajara, Mexico, the center of drug trafficking, undercover. So he went undercover, excuse me. So he joined, just FYI, he joined the US DEA in 1974. And then 11 years later, that's when he lost his life. That's when the last time they saw him was back on February 7th, 1985. And he had locked his service revolver locked his badge and service revolver in his desk drawer to meet his wife for lunch. And then he wanted to, when DEA reconstructed the events of what happened after he went his wife for lunch, he was picked up by, they don't know who, was grabbed and then sped away in a Volkswagen. And then he was murdered, essentially. And so he left behind 3 sons and his wife. And at the time, his children were only 11, 6, and 4. So what happened was his legend grew after his death. Movies were produced about him. And so the National Federation of Parents for Drug Youth joined with DEA and implemented 8-day Red Ribbon campaign. So here we are in Guam. And, you know, Guam always goes big. And Judge Berdalio will talk to you about what we have done and what we hope to do during COVID times. But Guam doesn't just go a week, we go a month. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of all we do the same. So that's my introduction. Chris, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make it short, but there it is.
Thanks, Justice Gatewood. So Judge Berdalio, if you could take us, what is planned for Red Ribbon Week, Drug Court Month?
Well, what was planned and what is going to happen, unfortunately, as a result of COVID are obviously two different things, and that's kind of the new norm, right? So as Chief Judge has said, it is a month-long process here, but the actual We actually celebrate Red Ribbon Week. I think this year will be from October 23rd to October 31st. Um, what was originally planned, and I think some of these activities were planned nationwide, was, for instance, and these are activities that unfortunately we will not be able to do on Guam. But
Yeah.
there was supposed to be a gate decorating contest where each of the schools were asked to decorate the front gates to their school with red ribbons. And this year's theme is "Be Happy, Be Brave, Be Drug Free." That's the theme for this year. And so schools were going to be asked to decorate the front of their entrance to the school with the paraphernalia, take their pictures, and that was going to be a contest. There was also going to be a wave at Chief Kapua, as there is, I believe, every year for the drug-free wave. Again, using the theme "Be Happy, Be Brave, Be Drug-Free." Every year there's usually a fair at the mall involving sponsors and agent partners from the different agencies that are involved. And then lastly, what unfortunately was one of the most well-received ones was the Halloween candy giveaway that normally is done at the Ganya Shopping Center. But
So no say boo to drugs.
right, say boo to drugs. And I don't know whether we were going to mail out the candy this year, but unfortunately, those activities had to have been postponed. What is going on, or what will begin October 1st through November 1st, and that is a nationwide photo contest. And I think we'll have Stacy can email, Stacy from the district court will be able to email out, but there is a website and we'll get it out on how both people can enter, schools can enter, as well as individuals at home. And, there are a couple of requirements, and one is that it be photos taken of a decoration at the school or decoration at home, using the theme "Be Happy, Be Brave, Be Drug Free," having the red ribbon in the photo, and then some people. And Guam is in Region 4, where it was some pretty big places. We're with Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, and all the other territories are grouped into one region. And so there'll be contest winners from that. You have to register online, either for your school or for your home. Submit the photos between October 1st and November 1st, so you have plenty of time to prep the scene that you want to take a picture of. And then voting will be open to the public from November 2nd through November 16th, and the winners will be announced on December 2nd. Again, we still have scheduled, at least tentatively, because that can be done via Zoom, is the legislative resolution and proclamation declaring a Red Ribbon Week, and that right now is tentatively scheduled for October 23rd via Zoom at 11 a.m. And we'll finalize if any changes need to be made to that. We are going to work with our sponsors and partners from the agencies to continue to do outreach. So at least from October 23rd to October 31st, members of the different agencies, task force, the drug task force, and other partners and community people, such as Mr. Mendiola, who, as we stated, has he's volunteered to do everything and anything and be available 24/7. We'll continue to make public appearances during that the Red Ribbon Week, to talk about their experiences and what is available in terms of resources, so that we can continue the battle to make our community a drug-free place. So that'll take place from the 23rd to the 31st, and that can still go on, because just as we are appearing here with you, those things can happen over the internet and via Zoom and not cause any spread, as you just had Lillian Posadas talk about some of the stuff we're facing. So that, in a nutshell, is what was planned and what can continue to go on despite COVID, and hopefully everyone will continue to take advantage of that.
Well,
And so
COVID's
that's
not
what-
going to stop us from commemorating Red Ribbon Week. And one thing I just wanted to point out was the be happy, be brave, be drug free. The theme, I was just reading up that this is actually a theme that was, I guess, selected from students. And with GDOE. If you could, Nadine, if you could tell us the extent of the Guam Department of Education and your involvement with the Red Ribbon Week campaign.
Sure. Thank you, Sabrina. Actually, we know nationally that substance abuse have increased because of the COVID-19. And so we're aware of that. We know that. We see that in our kids. It's a constant fight in our community. We need to keep this awareness. And so with Red Ribbon, that just, again, timely for this month to recognize that we're saying no drugs. And part of that is the educational outreach. Oftentimes, the great people that are part of this task force goes out to our schools, DOE and private, and we go out and do presentations, and the kids love it, even our high school students. Now we kind of have to change that up because of the COVID, but that isn't going to stop us on what we need to do in outreach. A link has been out where teachers can reach out and have an option to kind of include that in some of their teaching lessons through Google Teach, to include about some of the effects and the impact and side effects of substances. We know that that occurs. And again, this is timely because of everything. It goes back to mental health concerns. If people are not healthy, they're going to use something, again, as a way to cope. And if they don't have those healthy coping skills, they're going to revert to substances. A lot of this effort goes back to awareness. We are all here. It's been a really good representation from every committee members of both government and non-governmental and private organizations. So it's quite different, but we are doing what we can. And I think it's been very creative because oftentimes it's about a video in the schools and the students take part of that. This year it's going to be quite different. We're even having it go out to the homes. They can do something creative about our topic, be happy, be brave, and be drug-free. And that will be a great time to have a family activity. Oftentimes there's disconnection, and this is an opportunity to actually get the families involved. So I hope that answers your question, Sabrina.
It does. Thank you, Nadine. Let's go over to my buddy Jess Mendiola here. Model recovery citizen. I didn't even know this was a thing, man. But when I think about model citizens and it comes to recovery, I always think about my friend Eric Borja, and I think about you. And so you're not just talking the talk. You're out here walking the walk, right? And so
Giving back.
and giving back. And so let's talk about that, right? So when I look at your Facebook, so much of what you post about is about giving those people who may be down in that dark place you were at a hand up into the light. So let's talk about that, Jess.
Yeah, I'm actually a product of both the local and federal court systems. And it was my trials through the federal court system that opened up the doors for many opportunities of change. So before I go on, I got to give a lot of credit to the District Court of Guam and their staff, the probation officers that they have there. They're extremely helpful. They help you segue into society the way you should be segued, granted that you are receptive to the help that they are giving. And they are large, in part, a reason why where I'm at today. They gave me enough rope, and they allowed me to hang myself if I chose to be. But the rope they've given me allowed me to go out there and venture into society. What I am is a different kind of statistic. I'm a statistic of recovery and success after addiction. Many people often try to, how shall I say this, bite off more than they can chew, when in actuality they just got to take it bits at a time. There's, I'm on the verge of closing my first home within 2 weeks. I'm working in the private sector, been doing so for 3 years, steady employment. So there is definitely life after addiction, life after incarceration. There is rehabilitation. Programs need to be instilled within the local prison. Maybe perhaps we can model after the federal BOP system, and that could help out the inmates segueing out into society. And with that being said, I also believe that there are two fronts that we have to battle here. We have to battle. We have to help those that are currently battling their addiction, seek recovery. Then we have to take a preemptive approach to educate the youth so they do not take that road down towards addiction. Those are two crucial points that require two different types of approaches, because the youth are very malleable. We can tweak them and we can mold them into how they should be or how we think they should be. Whereas the adults are already involved in their habits over years of time, that's going to take another different approach. So I want to be able to help those on both fronts. I would offer my time to GDOE to go over there and do, speaking to the students, because I believe if we can take a preemptive approach and cut it off, the game stays the same, but the players eventually change. What I want to do is I want to stop the players altogether. I do not want any more of our youth venturing off into this area of darkness. That is my key focus right there. I will continue to help my recovering addicts out there who are still losing that battle, find the wind in their life. But the youth is where I would really want to focus on, because the minute we can cut off the head of the snake, they can no longer eat on the youth, prey on the youth. So our youth is the key to, how shall I say this, winning the drugs on war. Could the war ever be won? In reality, it's a monumental task. It's a monumental task, because where there's drugs, there's money.
Right.
But if we can give our youth a chance at life, if we can give them, direction and guidance, then more and more the message will spread like wildfire.
Right.
And that's where I stand. It's be happy, be brave, and be drug free is very. I like that. I had to do my research when I first found out about the Red Ribbon Week after the district court reached out to me. And of course, I would definitely hop on board this, because it's ironic that I'm on a Zoom conference with the link and the very judge who sentenced me, and another very judge who I appeared in front of a couple of times. And that's just a testament to my growth, to my walk in life and where I'm at. Success comes in all many forms. It's all about perception. If you want recovery, you will not give yourself any excuses. You will take the recovery, because there are people out there that will help you gain that recovery.
Which judge?
Judge Gatewood sentenced me to 36 years, and Judge Berdalio sanctioned me to 20 days for a violation.
Small island.
Yeah. Yeah, but when you see how far he's come,
Of course, totally, yes, yeah. Jess, let's say you talk about reaching the youth, right, Jess? So let's take it back to Jesse Mendiola, middle school student, elementary school student. What could someone have said to you at that point that could have changed your path?
See, the youth are very, very impressionable. Their minds are full of imagination. If somebody had if somebody had added to my imagination and awed me, I would then be gravitated towards that image that they're presenting in front of me. Words can be easily spoken, but actions are what actually reflect on others. So if I were to be out there in the schools showing speaking only words, but having that passion, that drive, the kids are going to feed off of that. They're going to feel that. They're going to be inspired by that. They're going to be motivated by that. And they're going to want that. They're going to want success in their life. All I got to do is not necessarily talk about drugs, but talk about the possibilities that they could have in life. Drugs, of course, is going to be a topic, but I want to expand their mind. I want to tap into that untapped area in their mind where they can just explode with imagination and just seek out all the possibilities out there. Because if somebody had told me back then that just say no to drugs, yada, yada, yada. Okay, just say no to drugs. Why? Why am I going to say no? Oh, because it has this, it has that. You got to have inflection in your tone. You got to have that passion so the kids can feel your energy, and they're going to run with it. Yes, environmental, cultural differences play a big part in it, because a lot of our youth out there are unknowingly behind the scenes stuck in a drug-riddled home, and that breaks my heart, because I have family members who are nieces and nephews who are stuck in drug-riddled homes, and I would try and reach out and help. However, I got to maintain my sobriety, because the more I'm around a barbershop, the more I'll get a haircut. So the more I'm around my family members who are actively using, the more I increase my chances of a relapse. And that is not something I want to do. I continuously pray for them and hope for the best for them. But, when the kids, they call me up whenever they need advice. My number is out there for my nieces and nephews to call me up whenever they need advice. By the grace of God, they do not use. They've taken their parents' actions and actually turned that into a positive and have sought better for them in their life. You still there?
Yeah, that was pretty powerful.
Just letting that sink in there.
Like, okay, am I alone? Well,
Let's take it to the judges. You know, when we get a guy like Jess on here who you've sentenced right to time, but you see that he came out on the other side and he's standing here today, given the message he's given, does it kind of show you that there's hope in the system?
Well, so yes, thank you for that question. Judge Bordallo and I both have had the opportunity to sentence this defendant. And Jesse, you said I sentenced you to 36 years. Did you feel it was 36 years?
no, 36 months.
Okay.
That's what I thought. Although I have sentenced somebody to 36 years. Let me just say, yes, you know, there's hope. When somebody like Jesse comes out of the system, and Judge Bordallo and I were talking yesterday, he asked Jesse, you know, speak to the audience. Tell them you can do it. You can make it. And I think that was and you've done that today, Jesse. And one of the really good question that was just asked is, what about when you were a young kid? I mean, what could have made a difference? I will tell you, and Judge Bordallo will probably tell you something the same or maybe different, I'm not sure, but every single pre-sentence report I have read, and I've been a judge 26 years, every single one, my defendants, and it doesn't have to be a drug defendant, but all my drug defendants have started out with drugs, with alcohol and marijuana at teenage years and younger now. Every one of them. And you know, Nadine, I'm sure Nadine has been very instrumental in being in my drug court. Her husband, Dr. Santos, Valerie Regis now, and Danny Duenas. Those guys are great treatment providers. But I will tell you that it does make a difference to talk to the children. And you know what was very compelling to me, and especially for any of us who have children, they tell us that the children's brains are still being developed even up to 26 years old. So when you put drugs in the brain, that's affecting so many things. So that's all I have to say. And Judge Bordallo, I mean, you know, maybe you can add to that, or Your Honor.
Well, Chris and Sabrina, what I wanted to say about Jesse, and again, is we talked about this yesterday, is he's the perfect example of really what is in essence a full recovery. And it's not a recovery only from, I think we're 5 years now, he celebrated sobriety. But as he told you at the beginning, he's getting a house. He's going to buy a house in 2 weeks, closing on. He told us he's really had a stable employment, and he's been fully employed for the last 3.5 years. And it's not, and it's not employment that he got about in terms of his involvement in rehabilitation, although again, many people who go through successful rehabilitation end up working in the industry, either as counselors but he's working for, I think Jesse,
Yes.
where are you working?
I work for a construction company, mechanical.
Construction company, and doing a project estimate. He's fully employed in the private industry. So that's what I mean when I say a full recovery.
Right.
Going back to, it's a two-headed monster, because,
Yes.
you know, problem is you can tell these young kids, you know, stay away from drugs, but at 3 p.m. when they go home and there's two addicts who are living in the house raising them, I'm sorry, your 5 minutes of stay away from drugs is not going to be effective.
Yes.
So recovering and getting resources out, treat the people and treat the community. 99% of cases that come before me in my job as a magistrate judge is all drug users. That's what I'm dealing with now. I'm dealing with post-conviction supervision of all these defendants, and they just come time after time. And these are the parents. So in order to break the chain, at the same time that we're trying to encourage the kids to stay completely away, because of the the science, it's really twofold. One is the simple science behind it that Judge Gatewood and everybody's alluded to, that a brain until 24, 25 is developing. So introducing any harmful substance is going to affect that development, but also from the idea of society in terms of getting the treatment to these people, so that you break the environment and help everybody lift up, both parents and then subsequently the kids will have something to do. So again, just a model because of the full recovery he's made, not only from drugs, but also becoming a person in society who's a full member and a full participant. And that's the idea, is that he's a full participant in working and everything else. And sometimes that's kind of the danger. Like he said, his options were limited because he does have a drug record. I've sentenced him, he said, in Superior Court, and then he's been in federal court. So he's seen everywhere. And it does limit his options, but society has to figure out how we're going to do that.
Yeah.
We do have partners in the private sector that are of great assistance in giving those that continue to maintain themselves drug-free opportunities to become full members of society. And so that goes hand in hand with everything. But for this particular event and this particular week, we are focusing on the children. But I think everybody needs to know it goes hand in hand. You have to pick up the parents, and you have to pick up that atmosphere, because those are the kids that are at the most risk.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
Right on.
your son who comes home to you, or your kids that come home to you, to a parent who's fully employed and fully engaged in their school, is at a much less risk of becoming a drug addict than those who come from a household where mom, dad, uncle, aunt, where 5 adults living in the one apartment.
Thank you, Your
Those are
Honor.
the-
Thank you. Guys, we're way over our time. I mean, we could go on all day, but we can't. So I definitely want to appreciate and thank you guys for coming on. Nadine, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jess, appreciate it, brother. Always good to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you. And one quick thing, if Nadine or anybody from DDOE ever wants to reach out to me, feel free.
Got it.
Right.
And I'm sorry, Nadine spoke to it, but we do have a resource for teachers. So there is a Red Ribbon website for education that the teachers can use.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Medallo. Chief, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Esta, okay.
Bye.
Good luck.
Take care.
Yes.
Wash your hands.
care.
Esta, okay. 10:07. Good job today, Sabrina.
Good job, Christopher.
Good job, Joser. Jason Solis, good job. Master Control, Kengineer. Also, we got your 6 with our K-Wave News primetime show.